welcome back. This is a Q&A for Releasing the Past. And you can ask questions about any of the stuff that we mentioned, or where to learn more about them, or any of that. Or your experience.
Or pretty much anything.
Or your experience with it. And your back's still good?
Yeah.
Still in good space?
She's not on her cushion.
And while we were at break, we did another little session, and your neck was 9 when you went back, and now it's
0.
0. I love it. I love it.
This is pretty awesome.
And like I said, so we work on all different levels: the emotional level, the spiritual level, the physical level. They all need to be in harmony. And if one is out of kilter, it probably affects the others. And it's about how to bring that balance internally to you so that things work the way they're supposed to, right? When you have a pain in the neck, the rear, the whatever, the head, the shoulder, you can't function every day.
Right.
Pain is really hard to help you function. It's hard to function.
It absorbs your attention.
When you have a lot of emotional baggage, it's hard to function every day. Like I said, those emotional dollars go to the past. And it's hard to get up every day and have energy and function. And if you don't have the connection spiritually, it's also hard for everything else to work and to pull together.
Right.
So I have a question about the neck pain, which is so awesome. So for example, in this case, I didn't have like emotion or feeling anything or going into the past, and yet the pain is gone.
Yeah.
But yet another, like for example in the color technique, that was, it goes beyond on the 2 sessions that I had with you, it goes beyond the understanding of the mind of how something clears. It's just clears, okay? So I don't try to question because I'm happy because it cleared. But in these sessions, for example, I did bring the emotions because this is what I was releasing.
Right.
So when do you know like that you need the emotion, or is it all the time that you need the emotion, and when you don't need the emotion?
When you need it, or when
I
need
need
it
it
to clear?
to clear.
Are you asking about
actually
clearing, or are you asking when should you have the emotion?
No, like about clearing, healing, leaving the past in the past, and not allow the past to rule your present or your
future. So again, we didn't do your healing session on tape, but you mentioned that your neck pain had been for 20 years since a car accident.
Correct.
So that tells me it is still associated with the past.
Correct.
So, and I make an assumption that if you had a really bad car accident 20 years ago, there's bound to be emotions there.
Correct.
And so you don't have to emote.
I don't.
But I can still clear them. The technique I use clears the emotions, and that helps clear the physical trauma.
But I didn't have to feel it.
You didn't have to have the emotion.
Correct. So would that work for something else, or it's only with physical pain?
Well,
can it be for emotional pain as well?
Sometimes you have to feel the emotions. It just depends on what it is, and I think each person, it's unique, and each situation is different. Some people, they've done a lot of work and they don't have a lot of strong emotion around something. They just need to clear those roots out, like I said, what's left over in that trauma or whatever it was, and they've already done the work. They've had the emotion before. In your situation, again, you said your back was hurt by your dog pulling you, or something with your dog. Again, that's the past, right? So now the past is still affecting you today because your back was still hurting. So we have to clear the past, and that incident with your dog helps clear the current pain that you have.
It also came up for me, that same dog broke my leg last year. So I kind of feel like maybe I was triggering that bigger.
And it could be. Right.
And one of the things you say, one of the things that I actually was clearing and working on in that is anger and resentment at the dog for harming you. Because we don't normally we'll get mad at them, but we can forgive pets really quickly. People not so much. But pets, but we still hold it, and it's still there. Even if we kind of go, okay, I got it. You didn't mean it. Right? That anger was still there. It still is attached to that pain in your butt. By the way, the body is extremely literal, folks. So if you are having a pain in the neck or a pain in the butt, the first question may be, what's causing the pain in my butt, or then who's causing it? Because it may be your boss, it may be your spouse, it may be whatever. And if you can identify that, then you have a little more direct way to go to know what you need to let go.
So your question, as I understand it, is that, and my answer is that sometimes it is required to have emotion and to emote. It is not often required to emote a lot and stay stuck in the emotion. I think that's part of what Rusty was saying with normal old talk therapy. It was a lot of bring up the emotion and you stay in the emotion.
Yeah.
You rehash it and have it again. So even if you think about the sessions of emotional transformation therapy, ETT, the color and light and stuff we've done together.
Yes.
Even that, you had emotions as you went through the process, but they weren't overwhelming.
No.
They were not forever, and by the end of a session, which is 50 minutes, they're gone.
Yes.
So it's not like we're digging. We're just looking to see what's there and what we can let go of and release.
Yes.
And with these techniques, a lot of times you may come in and you say, okay, I want to work on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to work on that issue, and then some of the others that issue is sort of, the bud up here versus the roots down here. The roots start to send that information up. So you may be working on something that you have no real emotion about it, but it touches on something else, and up comes that emotion at that point.
So there tends to be emotion involved. Whether you have to feel it and go back through it, it is a little bit different.
Let's look at the definition of emotion. Emotion, energy in motion. And when that energy stops and it's sitting there, you now have to expend more energy to keep it stuck. Right, so there go more of those emotional dollars that Tricia was talking about.
That exhaust you.
To exhaust you.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're in debt by the end of the day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
and I want to add, because I think the breath work was amazing, and I started with the one issue that was very hurtful for me, right? And but what as I allowed myself to express the emotions and the anger and all that, like you said, all the little branches that were, I guess, that the root was that first issue, but what came up most is the anger from all those other branches, more than the trauma, the first trauma itself.
Yes.
And as I was going through the anger and being okay to being angry and all that, at the end it felt like a relief, like it's gone. And
that's the Daleth breath work that
that's
you did.
the Daleth,
yeah.
yes. So but I think it's like both techniques work so well.
They do.
Well, they work well together too.
They work
and that's
well
it. You
together.
may find too that one technique is great for you and you do that one all the time, and you may find that you need a variety of these rapid release techniques in order to clear the gunk that's been holding you back.
Your toolbox needs more than just a hammer in it. You might need a wrench, you might need a screwdriver, you might need a saw, and if all you got's a hammer, you can't finish everything else.
Yeah.
So every tool that you learn in your life, everything that you can find that helps you be more present, and tonight it's about letting go of the past. All right, as you can see those things that come up, and you don't have to dig, folks. You do not have to go digging for this stuff. It will come to the surface as it needs to come to the surface. And that's when you work on it.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's why it requires also a little period of integration.
Yes.
So because after I did the color therapy, I needed a little bit of integration, and then when I did the breath, I was like, it's such a good compliment, but I also needed some time of integration, which I want another appointment.
Yeah, so, but that is right,
appointment.
and we encourage people to do that, to see what else comes up.
Yeah.
So, again, if you do.
It's like layers of the onion, right?
Yep, and
Yes.
even if you do the tapping and you feel like whatever the issue was resolved, you may find a week later some other piece of that issue still there, and you choose to do tapping again, or one of these other techniques again in order to let that go as well. But here's the reason we tell you. When you don't have all this baggage, you have more energy. When you don't have all this baggage, you can be in a good space every day.
You can have more
When
joy.
you don't have all this baggage, you have more joy in your life. You count your blessings, you see the positive, you see what's working, and then when something little happens, you don't go all crazy.
Yeah.
You go, that's just little, it's no big deal.
You're
And you
actually
move on.
you're actually present to what's happening, rather than suddenly you having one little event here and 40 years of stuff comes piling on top of it. Right? It really is about being clear and present.
And
in the
as you
moment.
said, you're more present, and the more present you are, the more you can connect with Source.
And the more present you are, the more aware you are. As these things happen, you can breathe, you can tap, you can just let it go at the moment. You don't have to accumulate them for years and years and decades before you work on them.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah.
And what did you call this technique that you did on her back?
Ewan
technique.
Yeah, the gentleman's name is Cam Ewan. He's
Cam.
a chiropractor, Dr. Cam Ewan out of San Diego.
Okay, and I'm sure they're both thankful and they seem to both feel much better. Is it just now or just
Forever.
that technique? Yeah.
It can be gone
It
permanently.
could be gone permanently.
From this one session?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
When you were with Cam, you actually watched him with the lady with arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to.
Yeah, she had crippled hands, arthritis, and he worked on her, and her hands literally uncrippled in the moment of minutes on stage. I mean,
And you don't see that with
stage.
arthritis.
And then we were there for a long weekend, and people where he worked on early in the weekends, the problems didn't come back throughout the weekend. And he worked with people who wanted to quit smoking and all kinds of different things. And there's huge differences.
And one of the things I want you to also hear, we talk about it as a biocomputer, we can tap in, you can learn to tap in, but it all works on the principle that we're all one. All right? Truly, you are energy, I am energy, Trish is energy. As energy to energy and as connected to Source, we know and can work on what's happening. And when I say we, I mean we, not we. Okay? There's nothing special about us up here. We just happen to have learned a few things along the way.
Oh, I'm special. Let's get it.
Only on Valentine's Day.
What do you mean I'm not special? We have an issue.
Okay. Your ego is very special.
Yeah, right. And if you're local, we will be having a class called Energy Medicine this month. And so we'll be going into a lot more depth on all of these things and giving you some handouts and some more information about them and that kind of stuff. But yeah, but it really
When
is
is
a say it again?
When is that?
That's a good question. Sometime in April of 2023. At some point in April.
You have it on the
Thursday.
calendar,
I think it's a week from Thursday. I think it's
A week from tomorrow?
I think it's a week from tomorrow. So if you're watching this video like 3 years later, you can't come. Maybe
Or
we'll
maybe
offer
do
it
it
again.
again.
I think it's like a week from tomorrow, and it's just energy medicine, and we're going to cover some of the same stuff, just give a lot more hands-on, and we'll get to practice on each other and just different tools and techniques. There's some things we can teach really quickly, and there's some things that take longer to teach, and we'll have to do longer classes in the future. But this is like an overview. When is it?
Tomorrow,
No. Is it tomorrow?
April 6th.
Oh.
Is it
Oh, it's tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's tomorrow.
Thank
At
you
what,
for
7
saying
tonight?
it.
At night?
7 o'clock
Thank
tomorrow?
you for saying it. I don't have it
I'll
on
believe
my
you.
calendar.
Is that, I see only the bottom one.
Oh,
I forgot to put it on my calendar.
Energy medicine is the 6th of April. Okay, it's tomorrow. It's a
Which,
good
by the
thing
way,
we
means-
looked, because I didn't remember.
Which, by the way, means I will be practicing tomorrow night. I have a root canal tomorrow morning.
Well, I'll be practicing on you, right? Yeah, yeah, and again,
No, I intend to have no pain by then.
good. You know, and the thing is that none of these techniques are gonna one technique will get rid of everything, like
No.
we said. It's good to have tools in your toolbox. So it's good to have a bunch of different techniques that you learn, go to classes, that you understand, because from a psychological point, not just a physical point, it's just different things work for different people. And you have to find what works for you, cause some people try something and go, well, that didn't work at all, and it may have been the facilitator.
Right.
It may not have been the technique. And so you try the same technique with a different facilitator and you might have better results. So, yeah.
And while we both know these techniques and we can use them on ourselves, there are times where you're so, so locked into a specific pain or emotion or whatever, we have to ask each other to play the healer role for us. So be aware that that's also something.
Well, and much like physical things. So if you break your leg, I'm not gonna tell you
No.
to go to a healer and not go to the doctor.
Yeah, please go to the
Please
emergency
go
room
to
and
the
get it
emergency
set.
room and get your leg set, put a cast on it, and then come to the healer to help it heal faster.
Yeah.
Right? So there are some things, we are believers in the middle path, and we
Mhm.
understand that traditional things like allopathic medicine is good, and it just shouldn't be everything. You bring in homeopathic and herbs and all the different pieces that go with it, just not one thing. So again, the more you're open to expansion, the better off it is. All right, any other questions about this topic? Yes,
Healing in general?
sure.
Yeah. So you said, for example, if we do the tapping, right?
Mhm.
And we work on ourselves. So
Mhm.
it's basically like, use our own power to
Mhm.
heal ourselves.
Mhm.
In my understanding of healing, even when somebody is helping you,
Mhm.
one is the one who does the healing,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
So my question is, I've been like trying to heal myself for many years on my own,
Mhm.
and it has been like so painful and so slow.
Mhm.
In compared to, for example, having both of your assistants, that's almost like took 10 years out of the.
Mhm.
So I would like you to kind of explain. Um, okay, so I don't want to feel like, I do understand that I'm doing the work when I'm with you, because I'm the one going through the emotion and
Mhm.
transforming. So, but at the same time, doing it myself doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't want to feel like, okay, I understand I'm not powerless,
Right.
Right.
but if you can explain that part
Right.
of solo and with help.
So having a facilitator often is beneficial.
I would say not often, all the time.
All
Well,
the time.
depends on
So,
the facilitator,
yeah.
but
Yeah, my answer to this
yeah.
is when you're trying to do it on your own and you still haven't done a lot of the clearing, it's like you're using a garden hose to bring source through.
Okay.
When you work with someone like us who's done their work, please remember, 30+ years of being a psychotherapist, we have worked on every issue we could ever have come up in our face. Right? So now, instead of having a garden hose that's bringing that energy, and it's still not us, we're just the conduit, you now have a fire hose.
Okay.
Right? So you're getting a much faster rush of that source energy coming through.
So basically, you're holding the space.
Mhm.
Since I'm like, let's say, in a space of density that I cannot really connect.
Correct.
You are holding that space for me to be able, for my body to be able to resonate at that level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's why it becomes faster, and
Yes.
and the whole thing transforms a lot
Yes.
faster with the facilitator.
And I bet if you try some of your own healing now, a few months after doing the work here and stuff, you will find it works much faster just on yourself.
Oh,
Your conduit, your hose is now bigger.
bigger. Oh.
Yeah.
And I would give a different analogy in that if you want to learn how to play violin or guitar or drums or any instrument, you can play it by yourself, you can do self-taught, you can watch videos, you can take little classes online. It's not the same as having a teacher.
Right.
And when you go to the violin instructor who's the virtuoso, and they can show you the nuances of how to play and the tricks and the things that work for them, and they have a better ear to catch things that you might not be catching and hearing, and they can help you fine tune it, it makes a huge difference. Now, can you learn how to play, be self-taught on an instrument? Sure.
Sure, you can watch YouTube and learn it.
Can you learn just by going to an instructor and not doing it on your own? Sure. But that balance allows you to know you have that power inside, but you go to someone who's farther on the path than you are, who's the virtuoso in the violino,
Yeah.
already knows how to play violin,
Yeah.
and you go to them and say, tell me, show me the way, so
Yeah.
I can be a better violin player.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say, is that,
That's
you
a
know,
really good analogy.
yeah,
Thank you.
because you've worked on some of the stuff yourself, you knew the issues,
Mhm.
you come to somebody who's farther on the path than you,
Mhm.
and you share what you already have learned so far, and we go, great, let's help you tweak it and help move it faster.
Yeah.
Well, and in keeping with your normal thing on the game of life, you know, the video game of life, you
Right.
wanna go, if you're trying to learn a new game, you wanna go find someone who's a few levels ahead of you, cause they know where the Easter eggs are hidden, they know what the cheat codes are, those kind of things, and that's all it is
Yeah.
when you're coming to someone like us.
Which
We know
is
few
a
of
lot
those.
better and a lot faster
Right.
and a lot less painful, really.
Yep. But those are some good analogies about why,
Oh,
yes, you can do it all by yourself, and it's sometimes you need somebody who's farther down the road or more of a master of whatever you're trying to learn in order to help you go quicker.
Mhm.
And the other part of that is when you're working on yourself in the beginning, you're still trying to learn to love yourself, you still have a lot of levels of unforgiveness inside of yourself. When you work with someone, they're sitting there hopefully, sitting there in a space of unconditional love. So you are feeling that love that you may not have for yourself yet, wafting through you. And it connects and begins to bring that out within you as well. So a lot of it is really just the space. You said it's holding the space, but it's holding a space of love and wholeness.
Yes.
Is what
yes,
it is.
Yes.
Well, good, great question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anything else? We good? Here's what happens, every time we turn this camera off, somebody goes,
Oh, I
have
got
another
one more.
question." And it's like the best question.
the best
of all
question.
night, and it's never recorded. Sorry, YouTube. You'll have to figure out how to get here in person.
Right.
All right, anything else? I think we're done then. We'll turn that off.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.